Good morning and welcome to the daily chapter reading of It's Your Loss, the Book of Grief. Robin on the Wide World, from the extrovert who sees her loss everywhere. My Nan had Edith Piaf's Non, je ne regrette rien played at her funeral. My friend Shell will have Barbra Streisand and Donna Summer's No More Tears, Enough is Enough. I will have Tim Curry belting out the Rocky Horror finale banger, I'm Going Home. If you ask most people what song they want at their funeral or their wedding or as their theme tune, they'll know. Because it's my fervent view that art anchors our physical self in the world, gives us an iron on identity and the tools to do some emotional excavation. I'd say art is the main thing that separates us from the rest of the species on the planet, but there are the birds with the real jazzy nests and the fish who tart up their caves with endless shells, and actually, all they're doing is spelling out their emotions. Except their emotions are mainly, I'm feeling sexy, or stop trying to kill me, which art sometimes addresses too. But very often it's loneliness, grief, unrequited love. We tell ourselves stories in order to live. I've gone in an art straight off and really we need to backtrack and do some scene setting. How you see your grief in the world is going to be linked to how you see yourself in the world generally. Emma sees herself in a little cave, poking her head out from time to time, looking at it on her own terms. She wants to figure out solo, working from the raw materials, all while hunkered down in a pastoral setting. I see the world like a Where's Wally annual, but it's Where's Robin? Colorful, dramatic, filled with people, me at the center. That means I'm always on the hunt for whatever feeling I'm cultivating at that time. But because I'm not terribly complex, I tend to eye up the most obvious representations. Sad tree, Robin. Haunting song, Robin. Depressing poetry, peak Robin. And the thing that most irrefutably takes those feelings, reproduces them expertly on a canvas or page or large-scale robotic installation and holds it back up at us is art. Art it is then. Though I'm also partial to standing on a windy shoreline looking exquisitely dramatic, but mainly just art, because you can't show off how good you are at standing on a windy shoreline looking exquisitely dramatic, unless you photograph it, and then you're back at art again. As you've probably gathered right now, I am an extrovert and a low-level narcissist. So seeing myself in things makes me think, okay, that's alright then. If, closed brackets, insert name of 75% of poets and writers and painters and creators of most persuasions create that masterpiece out of the jagged fragments of their broken heart, then there must be a purpose to it. This crying woman before me was conjured up by a grief-stricken painter who felt a version of my pain and was able to create a thing out of that I'm marveling at hundreds of years later. It reframes loss as a perverse gift from the universe. A smashed pot you can make a breathtaking mosaic out of. Yes, you'd rather have the pot, but unfortunately, all you've got is some glue and a tracing paper to rectify this situation. I would like to position my loss in the world in exactly that way, as part of an old age tradition. Something natural and worthwhile. And then it isn't as pretty. Because to give things a purpose makes sense of them, even if it's a shitter, much sadder sense than, say, your brother being alive, your health being good, you still having the hope of reproducing, or no one having run over your dog.
Doors normally open on the right.
Always better before, but a slight improvement on crap if you repackage it. And you can repackage it in lots of ways, the wider world. Giving yourself an emotional enema. Okay, that is a really gross and visceral way to introduce what I mean, but it does sort of sum it up perfectly. When I was in the wars, having first lost my Nan, it was hard to know when the emotions would pour out, in what order. if I'd be in a safe place when they did. I felt absolutely and fully out of control. I put a lot of the highly damaging measures I've already mentioned in place to get a handle on it, and they were not helpful at all. I implore you, don't try them. But when I did try and found really bloody
The
effective
next
was
stop
creating
is McKnight Westwind Station.
my own dead, sad disco, and it was awesome. Club Cry at Your Leisure is the same as any club, really. There's also the Go Ballistic Ballroom for your angrier periods, plays metal, and the Overwhelmed with Euphoria Warehouse for moments you just want to revel in the good stuff. My list of comedy nightclub names is as endless as the kinds of emotion you might want to access, but the crucial point is your name is on the list for every single one. When you step through the doors, all bets are off. It's 2 for 1 Tuesday, and the DJ is only taking your requests, baby. You can dance like Billy O. Everything is heightened, and no one is going to judge you for it the morning after. Mainly because Club Cry at Your Leisure has a maximum capacity of 1.
McKnight Westwind Station. Doors normally open on the left.
So the only person you get to judge is yourself. Now, this all sounds a bit weird and psychedelic, but you don't have to lock yourself in the bathroom and drop acid to do it. In fact, I'd actively discourage that. But what basically it is Viagra for the soul. For me, that stimulant was a playlist of very, very depressing music. I'm talking Leonard Cohen, Willie Nelson, Eva Cassidy, Johnny Cash, and to my shame, U2. Appealing to my most base desires there, but there was a time when I was locked in that bathroom with the shower on and Bono uttered the immortal lines. We fight all the time, you and I, that's alright, we're the same soul. I don't need to hear you
The
say
next stop is Whitehorn Station.
that if we weren't so alike, you'd like me a whole lot more. All the muscles holding me upright suddenly relaxed and the heartbreak poured in. In that childlike crying that instantly flushes you out and leaves you feeling purged but also a bit desolate, like after a big sick. The stuff that was making your stomach bubble is gone now, but now you just need to lay down for an afternoon. It provided the exact kind of schmaltzy Hallmark card basicness I needed back then. Just a look, that's you, that is. From Bono, and my totally overworked brain could glance up from the emotional cryptic crossword it was failing to solve. Sigh. Yep, so it is. Open floodgate number 1. This is gonna get gushy. And for a little while I felt a bit less absolutely terrible, you can easily Blue Peter your own misery palace to all you need is stuff that will make you cry, a room with a lockable door, tissues. It won't work for everyone. Emma wouldn't do it if you paid her. I see how it might feel forced and maybe inauthentic, but if you're like me and your feelings are always bobbing just below the surface, desperate to get out and make a holy show of you, that kind of governance is glorious. The controlled explosion. Oh, that I was able to do all the time. Whoever you are and whatever you're struggling with, it's worth a shot. The worst thing that's going to happen is your brain will be like, are you serious? You think I'm falling for that one? You get a bit cross and resolve never to try it again, but maybe you'll find an outlet for the kaleidoscope of feelings trapped inside, and that is something no one can argue against. Not even hands-off Hopkinson over there. Hello, is it me you're looking at? I could just finish this segment with yes, but where would be the fun in that? I worry that
Whitehorn
this will
Station.
sound super
Doors normally open on the left.
reductive, but for a lot of people, there is a glorious comfort in immersing yourself in art, whatever kind of loss you're experiencing. It's not a stretch to say that art has saved me, or rather, the arts saved me when I was going through a terrible loss. And that wasn't even the loss of Nan, it was the coincidental loss of my career. I was 24, I had worked in fashion since I had left uni, and I was managing and buying for a boutique in Nottingham. It was an extraordinary once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that I didn't realize was not in any way indicative of the actual fashion industry until they pulled the shutters closed one July afternoon to go and watch my Nana die. I never returned to the life I had built in Nottingham or to do that job because I
The
moved
next stop is Rundle Station.
into my granddad's remote farmhouse in rural Lancashire. I started all over again far too early, and it quickly dawned on me I'd been working in some kind of Willy Wonka theatrical wonderland. My new position was the exact opposite of everything I'd experienced prior. Zero scope for creativity, process coming out of your ears, and no lovely relationship with the customers, just folding and spreadsheets and misery. I was so fucking sad because my career and fashion in general was, is, and is my ultimate coat of armor. I'm really well dressed in a look at me, I'm confident, honestly way. It was who I was, and suddenly I actually wasn't anymore.
Rundle Station. Doors normally open on the left.
And if I wasn't that, then who was I expect the amorphous blob that lay on the sofa crying about their bereavement? Luckily, I was doing the creative writing MA, LJMU class of 2011. I keep mentioning reading like mad and identifying so hard with otherness and loss that it felt like the only place I was understood. So I started to be like, maybe this is for me. Because I like a quick win, and it was a direct line to Good Feeling City. I thought maybe I can do this as a career. I saw an advertisement for ambassadors for a local literature organization, and I convinced them to let me volunteer. And then I convinced them to actually hire me. And as always happens to me, one of the directors, who is coincidentally one of the most inspirational women I know, also had this sweet...
The next stop is Marlborough Station.
I've seen some shit sonar and heard my little mules for help. And she gave me precisely the kind of support I needed at that time, which was being a total badass and pushing me just enough. That organization made me feel like I could use words to make a tangible difference to others and to myself, and so I started to let go of my knotted little bundle of fashion sad and tug at the threads of my monster ball of bereavement angst. Doing something with art to benefit others while immersing myself in it fully made me feel part of a gang again. And I love me a gang. The full arts immersion recovery method. It made me read a ton more than I was already reading. So I got real familiar with some of the many books on loss. All the losses: death loss, career loss, health loss, identity loss, loss you felt from birth because you just don't connect with the wider world, loss of love, loss of battles, and continue ad infinitum. It made me see that loss is all around. To look at it like that is to feel like at least one other person gets you. You get to go up and examine something, and suddenly up pops Club Cry at your leisure. Bad timing if you're in a gallery, great if you're in the reading nook. So if you want a fast track to feeling of solidarity and sameness,
Marlborough Station. Doors normally open on the left.
then go seek out some sad stuff. It's paradoxically make you less sad. If you're like, whatever, this is Stripe, I refer you to W.H. Auden's Stop All the Clocks and 4 Weddings. As soon as John Hannah starts that poem, his love for Simon Cowell becomes our love, our loss. We see our heartbreak, we recognize that futile desire for the world to just fucking acknowledge how everything is pointless and ruined now. The wish for it all to be shrouded in black. We are not alone. It's not high art or fantastically nuanced, the film, not the poem, but it illustrates my point exactly. So if that made you feel a little better, you might want to try seeking out the kind of art that makes you feel seen. For me, that has always been literature. Before I even got good and bereaved, I realize now that a large part of what drew me to study classical civilization so vociferously and from like the tender age of 13 is that I felt at home with it.
Franklin Station.
Because classical literature features a wildly disproportionate number of monstrous women and appalling mothers. Of people searching for something they know they'll never find or that would consume them if they did. I felt understood. Mourning for lost love was my old familiar because I'd been calling out for it since before I could remember. It was my first foray into art as therapy, although I didn't know it. It all spiraled out from there. Books that felt like Robin were beloved and helpful, and meted out to other friends in similar positions with limited success. Emma, for example, resisted my grief reading list for years, but that's not her jam, and I get that now. For her, it's like me holding up a photo of her mom on her deathbed and being like, oh, look at that. It's not good. But if it isn't highly triggering for you and you want to know what's on my lost reading list, here are some corkers. The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion. Grief is the Thing with Feathers by Max Porter. As I Lay Dying by William Faulkner. H is for Hawk by Helen MacDonald. The Father by Sharon Olds. Time Lived Without Its Flow by Denise Riley. Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami.
Franklin Station. Doors normally open on the left.
Home Fire by Camilla Shancy. And Everything by ancient Greek playwright Euripides. All giving you a spin on loss in dramatically different ways. Be assured there's something for everyone out there, whatever your loss. The draw to put our experiences down on paper is pretty much universal, so you're guaranteed to find something that speaks to you. Talking of the unrelenting urge to turn life into literature, I've segged myself perfectly into my next section. Here I am. I really enjoy that heading. That was the way I'd announce my entrance to any room in one of my old jobs. But my point here is that you can use art as therapy by shoving all that unfathomable stuff down on paper.
The next stop is Barlow Maxwell Station.
For everyone on the planet over the bottom of your desk drawer, or make it into a pot, or a painting, or blow some glass into the shape of your grief. Two halves of an anatomical heart, anyone? When you're in a period of loss, it can feel really bloody hard to muster up the energy to do pretty much anything. But putting yourself out into the world and thinking about your new position there, it can be a godsend. To know that most great art found its genesis in something you have known so keenly, well, that can be a very comforting notion. It's an elegy, a tribute to the magnitude of the thing you have lost.
Barlow Maxwell Station. Doors normally open on the left.
And an acknowledgement of the comfortingly banal sameness of the human condition. You get to elevate your loss and also ground it in its inevitability. It is both extraordinary and very, very pedestrian. I did this by ending my writing course and haranguing my poor, mainly very patient classmates with sad chapters about a motherless boy. To illustrate, or orphan. To illustrate my point, here is how my novel opened. I think the most important thing that anyone needs to know about me is that I have no mother. That, and I'm in love with my best friend. Sometimes I think that's because I don't have a mother. I was 13 when she went. We lost her in the summer. I still remember the rattle of her chest and the burn for it all to end. Rise.
The next stop is
Rise.
Calgary Zoo Station.
Pause. Everyone held their breath. Rise. She asked my father for help so many times, never once said a word to me, just squeezed my hand when I said bad things, angry at the mob around the fucking bed, engulfing her all about themselves. I was so small it was hard to slot in. And any member of my family will know this scene intimately because it is the last few hours of my man's life. I wasn't 13, but I felt too small to squeeze in. She didn't say a word to me, but she'd already said a goodbye and now have tattooed on my heart. If I let myself hear her cry out for help, my throat physically closes up. It was undoubtedly too close to be good writing at the time, but my God, did it help. To remold it into something I could catch a hold of was incredible. By putting it at arm's length, I could look at it, make sense of it, render it less
Calgary
dangerous.
Zoo Station. Doors normally open on the left.
So, thank you for the 2 years worth of free therapy, my fellow students, and one lovely teacher who, you guessed it, sonard ed the shit out of me. I call her Mummy Bear, and I won't be made to feel strange about that. My point is, if you are so inclined, then use your loss. Put it out into the world like you're able to paint your own Ophelia with it. Rage up a Guernica, or do not go gentle into that good night, or break hearts by drafting stones in his pockets or up, or whatever makes it feel useful and malleable and manageable. Turn it all outwards and let it shine into the world, and just like that, you're safe. The Medusa's head of misery
The next stop is Ridgeland Memorial Station.
can no longer turn you to stone, and Brucey bonus, it even provides you with a little emotional weaponry. Something good can be hewn out of the very worst of situations, like carving something out of a magnificent tree knocked down in a blasted bloody storm. If you're that way inclined, that is. Action: creating the Festival of You. Get Googling for books on loss.